militia. Do you think if we had a real militia that was willing to stand up, that was willing to fight, you know, back in the day when the Black Panthers were in our neighborhoods and the police would come and try and mess with people, once the Black Panthers came, it was just like, okay, we're leaving. You got this or leave it. And so, as far as that's concerned, it was necessary and still is necessary for us to police ourselves.
Let me jump in here for a second, Andrea. Let me explain something to your listening public that a lot of people misinterpret, because, and I thank the young child that said this to me. A child said one of the most profound things. So thank you, a little child, because now I'm going to say it to the grown folks. He said, our problem is we've never seen anything like this before, and we've never seen anyone like you. Please forgive us. This was a child that said that to me. Very intuitive child that I met at the March on Washington. So let me explain something to the public at large. If you haven't paid attention, every time that the NFAC has shown its face, the police act different. You like to think that it's because of something that we did, like we're in cahoots with them, or we're working with them. What you fail to realize, and what most cowards already know, is that when you show up with that much firepower, they respect power. Power only respects power. And you see how they act. We haven't had one engagement with the police. We haven't had one gun pointed at us. We haven't had one person questioned about, are these your weapons? We haven't had, as a matter of fact, every time we've shown our face, what you interpret as us working together is not. It is the existence of fear on the other side. Nobody wants that type of trouble. They can talk about it. It's easy to do things to you when you can't defend yourself. But we keep showing you examples of what happens when a militia shows up with thousands of guns. Nobody wants that type of trouble in spite of what they might say to you. They don't. Talk a good game, walk pretty lame. That's what we say. On top of that, if you also notice, and this is what someone else pointed out to me, every place that the NFAC has shown up and protesters have shown up, like the BLM and all these other groups that pop up that like to yell and act a fool. When we show up, nobody gets hit in the head. Nobody gets tasered. Nobody gets gassed. They're all of a sudden the police are out there with you. They chanting too. You know why? Because they see the threat, and you all don't understand what a threat looks like. So when you see something that looks like us, you want to say that can't be real. I ain't never seen nothing like that. When y'all saw the police come down the street where the McMichaels was, and they wouldn't even come down the block when they saw black brothers down there standing in the middle of the street, suited and booted. It wasn't no operation. It was an expression of black power under the Constitution that you're not used to seeing. So you do need a militia. You do need somebody who's going to stand the post for you. And then for all y'all who sit around, well, let's just get it in. You don't want to get it in, because if we get it in, it's going to set off a civil war that you're not prepared to fight. You don't have the weapons. You don't have the ammo. You don't have the training. You don't have the facilities. You damn sure ain't got nowhere to fall back on. So why would you sit there and even question the existence? It's not about reinventing the wheel. It's about, in order for you to heal, you have to put a cast around the wound or the bone. The militia is your cast. Do you understand? Y'all don't realize how serious this is. Don't you realize that somebody started a rumor down in Louisiana, said that the NFAC was on their way down there because of what they did? And somebody said that if the rumor got out, even though we ain't said nothing, watch what I'm saying, the very thought that the black militia was coming to Lafayette, not only did it go viral, but Glenn Clay Higgins, who is an American Republican politician and a reserve law enforcement officer from the state of Louisiana, who sits in the House of Representatives for Louisiana 3rd Congressional District, this man saw fit to go out and make a threat against us. This man is sitting in office. He told us if we came down there that they would kill all of us and that they would be ready for us. And this is a sitting House of Representative member that's saying this, because they understand that when the militia shows up, it ain't the same. Things change because we're the cast around the wound. If I had some time, I would actually read you the threat, but I couldn't even believe it when somebody sent it to me. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and read it to you anyway. Can I read it to him, Andrea, what he said? his words are, he says, and these are the words of a sitting congressman. They're going to cut it as soon as I talk about the congressman. You know they was going to do it. You know they was going to cut it as soon as I brought that up. Because they don't want y'all to see the true face of what they're doing. He said, look, fair warning. If this shows up, we'll consider the armed presence a real threat. We being we, the people of Louisiana. One-way ticket, fellas. Have your affairs in order. Me, I wouldn't even spill my beer. I drop 10 of you where you stand because some of we, like me, we're SWAT. Nothing personal. We just eliminate the threat. We don't care what color you are. We don't care if you are left or right. If you show up like this, we will recognize the threat and you won't walk away. That's not a challenge, fellas. It's a promise. We don't want to see your worthless ass. Nowhere do we want to make your mothers cry. You're the ones threatening. If you show yourselves aggressively natured and armed in my presence in my neighborhood where I work anywhere close enough to my family or my fellow citizens in danger, this is where your journey will end. And there's a picture of me and the NFAC. That came from Glenn Clay Higgins, who is an American Republican and reserve law enforcement officer for the state of Louisiana. So do you want to know really whether or not that the militia is necessary? We got the congressman scared on a rumor all by himself. So when the people was down there shooting the boy in the back for going into the convenience store, and if you hadn't heard about the Trader Joe shooting where a 61-year-old black man who was just asking for change got shot down by a white man, not a cop, by just a white man. They ain't talking about that. You see, that's why the people want us to come down to Lafayette. But as soon as they heard the rumor that the black militia might show up, the congressman lost his damn mind and issued a threat. Oh, he took it down, but we already captured it. Y'all should pick up the phone and let the good people know up in the U.S. House of Representatives of how dare they have a racist sitting up in there who thinks that black people uniting themselves to protect themselves, to love on themselves is somehow a threat. Well, if you hadn't raped, robbed, and pillaged all my peoples, and if you hadn't enslaved us for so long and then denied us the right to be treated as an equal human being, you wouldn't have a guilt trip conscience. You wouldn't have this inferiority complex that drives. You wouldn't have none of those things. So is it necessary? Of course it's necessary, because you see how they act when we show up. And it's only people who've never seen it before, who don't know what they're looking at, who try to call it anything than what it is. Black power.